And then once he makes his way toward the tent, I'll invite you to stand with me. We get into the program, which is the national anthem, and then we will take prayer as well. And as I said, we'll invite you all to remain standing as we go right into the national anthem. you very much. You may be seated. We invite Ms. Reynolds, who is a resident of the Forest Hills area, to come and to extend prayers for us.
Good morning. Would you stand, please? Our Heavenly Father, as we gather here today to witness this official ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Forest Hills Solar Project and also the groundbreaking for the Ferry to Rock Pond Pipeline Project, first and foremost, we acknowledge you, Lord. We are grateful for the leadership that understands the needs of the people, and one such need is a good, safe, and efficient water supply system. We thank you, Lord, for our Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, Honorable Matthew Samuda in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, our Member of Parliament, Mr. Dwayne Smith, MP Anthony Hilton, MP Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn, the executive and staff of the National Water Commission and its partners, without which these projects would not be possible. We thank you, Lord, for all the specially invited guests today. We thank you for every person present to witness this event. I pray that throughout the length and breadth of this nation, we will see many more similar projects come on stream, for indeed, water is life. Grant our leaders wisdom and foresight, because we know that all wisdom comes from you. I pray a blessing upon this ceremony. I pray also for the safety of the equipment and the facility. We commit our leaders and the people of this great nation to you, O Lord. O thou great Jehovah. These things I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. And we say amen one more time. I want to just say it is good to see all of you who are gathered with me to this groundbreaking for the Ferry to Rock Pond Pipeline Project, as well as the ribbon cutting for the solar project here at the Forest Hills Relift facility. I am extremely pleased that you have given your support and you've deemed this of interest to come and participate with us. And so we are looking forward to a nice little time as we quickly move through this ceremony. Let me at this time to bring the official welcome and opening remarks, the Acting Vice President of Operations for the National Water Commission, Mr. Herman Fagan. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremony. Good morning, everyone. Not because it's a little bit warm, Can sound better than that. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I like the version 2. Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Matthew Samuda, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honorable Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn, Member of Parliament, St. Andrew, West Rural, Honorable Anthony Hilton, Member of Parliament, St. Andrew Western, Honorable Dwayne Smith, Member of Parliament, St. Andrew Northwestern, Ms. Valerie Reynolds from Forest Gardens, representatives of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, members of the JCF, representatives of the Social Development Commission, distinguished partners, community members, colleagues, and members of the media. It is both a privilege and a pleasure to welcome you today as we highlight two major initiatives being executed by the National Water Commission, the Ferry to Rock Pond Pipeline Project and the recently completed Forest Hill Solar PV installation. These projects form part of the NWC's continued effort to expand access, improve reliability, and ensure the sustainability of our water services across the island. We know the value of the investment. A lot of residents have put in their homes, and reliable water supply adds to the comfort, peace of mind that you seek after a long day at work. In fact, Minister, I want to pause to thank our customers for their continued support and patience as we deliver a more resilient water sector for Jamaica. So let me begin with the Ferry to Rock Pond pipeline project. This is a transformational infrastructure investment valued at in excess of $1 billion. Of this amount, $476 million is dedicated to pipeline works, while $505 million covers mechanical and electrical upgrades, including the construction of 2 relief stations and the installation of 2 50,000-gallon storage tanks. This project is set to directly benefit over 26,000 residents across several communities in Western St. Andrew, to include Red Hills, Belvedere, Rock Pond, Cypress Hall, Mosquito Valley, Plantation Heights, Brentwood, Stanmore, Tom Kringle, and Stirring Castle, many of whom have faced persistent water supply challenges, especially with the growing population that exists. The works include installation of over 7.2 kilometers of 12 inches ductile iron pipe, supported by the construction of new pumping infrastructure and the rehabilitation of our ferry compound. This will supplement the existing forest health systems, which will improve service reliability and reduce pressure on the Forest Hills deep well while enhancing overall customer satisfaction. Ladies and gentlemen, it gets even better. At the same time, we are extremely proud to report the completion of another groundbreaking initiative, the Forest Hills Solar PV project, commissioned on April 16, 2025. This project involved the installation of 350 kW grid-tied solar photovoltaic system designed to supplement the facility's energy needs and reduce our reliance on the national electricity grid. This modern system, consisting of 763 solar panels and 4 inverters, is expected to generate approximately 440,000 kilowatt hours of clean energy annually. That translates into an estimated $20 million in annual savings and a reduction of over 300 metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions each year, advancing our sustainability agenda and supporting Jamaica's national climate goals. The $81.5 million investment not only contributes to lower operating costs of approximately 20%, but also reinforces NWC's commitment to environmental responsibility and long-term energy resilience. And we are not stopping there. Following the success of Forest Hill, we are moving forward with additional initiatives, including a similar system at Leaders Avenue in Montego Bay, a 100 kilowatt installation at Hamilton Gardens in St. Catherine, and a Pioneer 12.5 MW floating solar PV system at Mona. These projects align with the national objectives for clean energy integration and demonstrate the NWC's leadership in utility-scale renewable energy adoption. So as we build our physical infrastructure to deliver water for life, we are happy that you have joined us today to witness how the NWC is also re-engineering our operations to serve you more efficiently, sustainably, and reliably today and into the future. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Fagan. I hope you guys were listening for a little bit. He called some numbers, and I always want to do a little bit because I can't do maths so good, but I know there are bright people here. Not true? So he said Ferry to Rock Pond had a price tag on that project. It was one. Boy, come on, class. You can do this. 1 billion. I heard this side. What about this side? 1. Excellent. And the solar project starts with an E, finish with a Y. -1. Boy, move to the front of the class right away, sir. Excellent, excellent. We want to also acknowledge our partners, Mr. Damian Lynn, he's a part of the solar project team. They are the contractors for us. Alternative power sources, it is. All right? And we're happy to be sharing this particular event with them. I think I may be able to share with you now a little bit of the video which captures or gives you a little visual of to what the project really will look like for this pipeline work. Here we go. Sir, slowly.
Residents of sections of St. Andrew, get ready to enjoy the flow of improved water supply as work is set to begin on the Ferry to Rock Pond pipeline project. We have listened to your concerns about the level of service in parts of Red Hills, Plantation Heights, Sterling Castle, Tom Kringle, and the Cypress Hall. And now, it's time for action.
So currently, the Forest Hill system is served by the Forest Hill Deep Well, which supplies about approximately 1 million imperial gallons to the Forest Hill system through a series of lift stations up to the Sterling Castle tank. Now, the service area currently includes Plantation Heights, Forest Hill, Kirkland, Brentwood, Lees Flat, Cypress Hall, and Upper Red Hills.
The project has 2 components. One aspect focuses on pipeline works. The price tag, $476 million. The other phase involves installation of mechanical and electrical equipment at a cost of $505 million. The new pipeline will be laid along this path, the Belvedere to Ferry Road. It will be connected to this existing pipeline.
This new system will entail 2 main components, which is the laying of approximately 7.2 kilometers of the 300mm pipeline, commencing at the NWC's existing ferry compound, traversing along the Belvedere to Ferry Main Road and terminating at the Rock Pond tank. The second component involves the construction of 2 pump stations, one at the NWC's existing ferry pump station and the other in the vicinity of Belvedere and Tom Kringle. Now, these lift stations will have 2 duty and standby pumps, and then each will have a supporting 50,000 gallon storage tank.
After the project is completed, the NWC will have expanded its customer base to accommodate more customers in the Red Hills area and its environs.
When this new system is introduced, customers within the service area will experience a more reliable and dependable water supply service. Also, we expect that the introduction of new water within the area will spur development. Upon completion of the project, we'll be able to extend the service from the overall Forest Hill system north to areas that would have been without of water or haven't received any service from the NWC. Based on the introduction of this new water into the service area, it is anticipated that NWC will be able to extend its supply to Upper Red Hills to include Cooper's Hill.
So, it's great news for you, our valued customers, as there will be improved service levels and operational reliability, improved quality of life for the residents in the designated Red Hills area, improved customer satisfaction by enhancing the level of service with a more consistent and reliable supply. But of course, some may be wondering, when is all this set to come on stream?
The Ferry to Rock Pond pipeline installation is expected to last approximately 7 months from the time it started in June.
These are extensive works that will be carried out by the NWC through its Engineering and Capital Works Department. The motoring public and others should be on the lookout for our work crews.
I should admit that there will be some inconvenience for the general public, and we want them to give us our support. We'll be excavating, we'll be directing traffic, we'll be diverting traffic. So there will be some level of inconvenience. This is expected to the general public.
We are also appealing for patience, as a project of this nature will result in some inconvenience, but it's all for the greater good. And we will try as best as possible to minimize the discomfort.
So when we are in Red Hill especially, the population density is a lot greater than in Ferry. People will be stopped and asked to wait until they are released through so they can continue on their merry way. I am appealing to the residents to give me your support. This is for your benefit. This is for your good. This is development. And at the end of the day, everybody will have water and they won't be complaining for the lack of water. So here again, we are appealing. We will be dialoguing with you people. We are begging you. And please, don't be abusive to the workers. And thank you.
Several residents are already looking forward to enjoying the benefits.
Sometimes the water gone, like for 2 or 3 days. Sometimes it come back, the pressure is very low because everybody wants to use it at once. So if you are going as NWC improve that, that will be good for the community.
I feel well elated about that because we have been having water issues a long time. And it's so good to see that NWC has came out here and is improving our water system for us.
Yeah, we feel good for that, man, because water pressure is very, very low. And if you live on the hill, you really can't get water because the pressure now should go up on the hills.
If it's in a case where the water is flowing properly at the correct PSI and everything, it will work perfectly fine if the road isn't damaged. PSI have to do the pressure.
Well, that's very good for the improvement because sometimes when the pressure comes into the pipe, we have a lot of water running on the road. You understand? Sometimes the water is very low, and the next time we get our water low for all 3-4 days. And the next time the water pressure come up. Right? It don't so bad like one time. It improved, but the improvement will be more better. Yeah, man, we feel good. That's the water supply I got regularized now. So we got better water, and also we got iron now.
The NWC, an entity under the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, MEGJC, will continue to upgrade and modernize our infrastructure because we are committed to serving you in so many ways.
There we have it. So now I'll be happy to tell our production team that you were pleased with their job. We are now going to have the most appropriate set of responses. So 3 of the persons to my left, members of Parliament, Mr. Dwayne Smith Jr., Mr. Anthony Hilton, and Mrs. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn are all to be impacted by this particular project. And so in that order, I'm going to invite them to come and to bring brief greetings, and perhaps they will tell you which of their areas too they are pleased about. Please make him welcome.
Morning, everybody. Let me first welcome the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness. Welcome back to Northwest St. Andrew. Always happy to have you here. Incidentally, when the invitations for this function started to circulate, I got some calls from residents saying, okay, it's because the Prime Minister coming by to fix the road. I assure you that's not the case. The road work that just took place on Red Hills, right, that's not the case. The road work that was done is a part of the National Work Agency's regular maintenance road work. I'm a little bit disappointed that it was fixed before he came because I wanted him to see firsthand what happens at the foot of the hill with the cement trucks when they climb in the hill. And I'm happy that we finally got it cleared up. I also want to recognize and welcome the Honorable Matthew Samuda, my favorite constituency neighbor, Honorable Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, and my other neighbor, the Honorable Mr. Hilton. Mr. Hilton and I don't always agree, but we are always very courteous and respectful to each other. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you this morning as an extremely happy Member of Parliament. extremely happy Member of Parliament. I've been a Member of Parliament now for 5 months, but I was the councillor for the Chancery Hall Division, in which the beneficiaries of this program resides, for 13 years. And now I'm the Member of Parliament. So I can tell you for at least 13 years, every community meeting that I have attended, citizen association meeting, every meeting I've had in the Red Hills communities, the #1 agenda item has always been about water. Some of those meetings get very, very, you know what I mean? Very, very. A matter of fact, I've had to call Minister Samuda more than once for information, and he has also made himself available to attend some of these meetings to explain to the residents the real problem and what the solutions are. Now, Minister Samuda, at the last meeting he came, he explained to the residents of Elmwood Terrace, right here, about this program. And one resident I remember saying, oh, that's a pipe dream. No, it's not a pipe dream. The pipes are now actually going to be laid from Ferry all the way to Rock Pond. In the project brief that I read, though, Delano, also, Delano, I want to thank you. Delano is possibly one of the most efficient employees of the National Water Commission. Very accessible and extremely patient, because when I get the calls and I get the cussing, I relay them directly to Delano. He gets the calls and he gets the cussing. Because the lack of water is really a vexing issue and a long time issue. So thank you, Delano. I also want to thank Ms. Valerie Reynolds for the prayer. When the National Water Commission asked me to ask a constituent to say the prayer, he immediately came to mind, and everybody who was here for the prayer totally understand why I chose you. So thank you, Ms. Reynolds. I want to also thank the government of Jamaica for putting the country in a position to afford this project. This is a $1 billion project. I want to thank the technical people from the National Water Commission who had the vision and the plan, and I'm very happy to say that this is now a reality. So that resident who I see in the audience here tonight, you see, it's not a pipe dream. It's really a reality, and it's going to take place in very short order. So being here for 5 months as Member of Parliament, I must tell you, as a matter of fact, I keep on emphasizing the 5 months, because I get calls every day from constituents on my cell phone or my office phone saying, MP, I don't see you, I can't see you. I see your father, I used to see your father all the time. I remind them that my father represented this constituency for 29 unbroken years, and I've been here for 5 months. And I have started to move around, not as quickly as I want, because when I move around, people stop me at the gate, they invite me inside, they show me the birthday cards they got from my father for 29 years. So I'm not moving as quickly as I'd want to move. But ladies and gentlemen, today is an excellent day. The residents of Lee's Flat, Elmwood Terrace, Kirkland Heights, Mosquito Valley. Where's Mosquito Valley? Mosquito Valley is here? No, Mosquito Valley. The days of regulated water is done. When this program is finished, you'll have absolutely no more water problems. Another concerns we're having, Minister, at these community meetings, because of the proliferation of the housing developments up here, people have always got very concerned. Mr. Smith, every day we see another development. How are we going to adequately supply water to these new housing development when we already have problems? Well, let me tell you, when this program is finished, all water problems for Red Hills and its environs is a thing of the past. So thank you to the Water Commission, thank you to the Prime Minister, thank you to the government of Jamaica. The constituency of Northwest St. Andrew is extremely, extremely grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Smith. And now I invite Mr. Anthony Hilton, Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Western. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Most Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Andrew Holness, Mr. Matthew Samuda, Honorable Matthew Samuda, Minister of Minister of our portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, my colleague, and yes, my friend, Juliet Cuthbert, Honorable Juliet Cuthbert, and yes, Dwayne, you are my friend too. I know you don't want to set up before you labor right friendly, but we're friends. Yeah? But yes, Prime Minister, I want to say that the priority is right. This area deserves, demand, and is impatient of this project. And whether it was my side or your side, we must do it for the people. The area is expanding. It's one of the few areas with available land spaces. The pace of development is constrained directly by the absence of water or the lack of water, the constraints on water. And those residents who are bold enough to have built their residences, occupy the space. By the way, I've just seen my councillor walk in. I have to recognize her, Councillor Michelle Thomas. Those persons who have braved, those brave souls who have started their construction and have been living in the area, some of them for as many as 30-odd years, they are today very, very relieved. And so this is not a day on which anyone can disagree about anything. We have to agree that everything about the timing of this project, the scale and scope of this project, and the technology, as I understand it, is right. The community deserves it. They are expectant of it, have been for quite some time. And yes, Dwayne, you are lucky. Only 5 months you had to endure it. Some of us had to endure it for 20-odd years, 30-odd years, and in my case, for 17 years. So it has not been an easy road, but today spells relief. And more relief, even more than I am, are the residents of the various communities that will be affected. And I must say, beginning with Ferry, which is not a problem here for water, but Cypress Hall is, and all of the adjoining communities, Belvedere, Guzman, Happy Grove, Plantation Heights, all of these are communities that will be positively impacted. It goes a long way to address the issues of investment in the constituencies, and this is a tri-constituency area between Western, West Rural, Northwest St. Andrew. And that tri-constituency area will see, and we expect to see, development, a spurt of continued development in those areas, because water is indeed life. And today is a welcome day, and we want to congratulate government, want to congratulate the Water Commission, the National Water Commission. And yes, I join you, Dwayne. Delano is accessible, and he feels a lot of the questions, and he responds. We want to thank him for being responsive to the concerns and the complaint. But thank you. Today is a good day for Jamaica, and may we see many, many more days like this ahead as we develop our countries and our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member of Parliament Hilton. And I just want to acknowledge the remarks of commendation that has been passed on for me. It's really for the entire team, really, because as soon as I get them and I pass them on, persons like Cordell, Mr. Nesbitt, Mr. Lawrence with his cool cat self, the PR team that supports me are as responsive as I answer my phone. And I just want to extend that to my entire NWC team. All right? Now, the rows among, she says it's obvious, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Member of Parliament for St. Andrew West Rural, Mrs. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Masters of Ceremony, Mr. Williams, who's always accessible to me. Yes. Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, Honorable Matthew Samuda, Minister without Portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, my esteemed colleagues, members of Parliament, Mr. Dwayne Smith and Mr. Anthony Hilton, who are right next door to me, Mr. Herman Fagan, Acting Vice President of Operations at NWC, and also the team from NWC who is always, always responsive, always. Dr. Francis, boy, I know she's tired of me. Mr. Lawrence, where's Mr. Lawrence? Mr. Lawrence is also, I know, tired of me as well. And Mr. Wall, who is in the Stony Hill area, I call him pretty much all the time. My counselor, Rowan Hall, members of the media, and most importantly, the members of the Red Hills area. Today marks a major milestone for the residents of Red Hills, as we have heard, and also the surrounding communities as we officially break ground on the Ferry Rock Pond Pipeline Project and commission of the Forest Hill Solar Project into service. This $1.7 billion investment in our nation's water infrastructure, one that represents not only a deep investment, but it is also a renewed commitment to the people that we serve. It spans, as you heard, multiple communities, and this will significantly enhance the delivery and also the reliability of water in areas like Sterling Castle, where I got a call from yesterday, and I think I heard Cleveland on the phone this morning, speaking about the water disruption. Burnside Hill, where I got a call yesterday, and constantly Walker's Hill, Woodland Circle, Cypress Hall that we've heard. And by the way, disclaimer here, I have a piece of property up in that section, and the water stops right below me. So I'm very happy for this water project. Padmore, where we know that the Honorable Minister, you came, I think it was last year, the year before, and NWC, you came in and you ran new pipelines, you came and spoke to the residents there, and those people, they're very grateful for the new pipelines that they have now in that area, in the Padmore division. These communities have long experienced challenges of insufficient and irregular water supply as housing developments expand and the population increase. The strain that we have now on the existing system has become more evident. This administration, under the leadership of our Prime Minister, has heard those concerns and has taken decisive action. This project, alongside other key national initiatives such as the Rio Cobra system, demonstrates that we are committed to building a stronger, more reliable water infrastructure right across Jamaica. This Ferry to Rock Pond project forms part of a wider thrust to modernize and also to expand Jamaica's water infrastructure. It will involve, as we heard before, the installation and upgrading of major pipelines across the corridor, ensuring that everywhere in Red Hills is properly served. We are also aware that this process may cause temporary disruption, and we ask for understanding and the people here of Red Hills, your corporation. The long-term benefit, I'm sure, will outweigh all of the inconvenience that you will face. And so we're asking for patience. We also take this opportunity to encourage residents who are unregularized community members to begin the process of formalizing those connections. As we improve infrastructure, inclusivity remains a top priority. And so in addition to this, Forest Hills Solar Project represents a forward-thinking approach. By incorporating solar technology, we're improving operational efficiency and also reducing energy costs, allowing more funds to be reinvested in service delivery. Let me express my sincere gratitude to the National Water Commission, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and all the project partners. We heard the partners before, the solar partners, for their commitment to delivering this transformative project. And finally, to the residents, I want to thank you for your continued trust your engagement, and also your patience when you call upon me and all the other MPs when they're called upon, and including NWC. Today is definitely a testament to what is possible when the government responds and communities come together in pursuit of progress. This is more than just pipes and panels. It is about progress. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member of Parliament. And then now we will just break the flow a little bit. We'll have, as your program says, an item. And I am pleased to tell you Mrs. Shanae Bartley will be coming to give us a selection. Please make her welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Isn't it a great day to be alive? And we just take this time to pause and just to recognize that it's all because of the goodness of God. Do you agree with me with that today? Good. Let's go. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Yes, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Come on, put your hands together for the goodness of God.
Come on, put your hands together one more time. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been. Oh, with every breath that I am able, I will sing. Excellent. Thank you, Mrs. Bartley. Appreciating that so much. A little word of blessing that sometimes you're in a mood and you're trying to find enough space to pitch a tent, minister at the foot of Red Hills. And they tell me it's all rock and corners. And somehow we've managed to find a rock to build a house. And so it's a good day, sir. This gentleman who is coming to us is really no stranger to a lot of you. He probably has brought more visibility to water in the last 2-3 years than many, many more combined before him. And it's not for lack of their efforts, but just perhaps a more tremendous effort from him. I invite you to make welcome for remarks Honorable Matthew Samuda, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies, for your kind welcome. I will also join with colleague MPs. Yes, Prime Minister, I'm still getting used to saying that, but colleague MPs in saying, yes, you indeed are very responsive. And Mr. Fagan, Acting Vice President, I concur and I thank Delano and his team. Most Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Michael Holness, colleague MPs Gillette Cuthbert Flynn, MP Anthony Hilton, MP Dwayne Smith, senior management and executives of the National Water Commission of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. I also pause to acknowledge councillors in the area and, most importantly, residents who will benefit from this significant investment. Now, a lot is made of the level of activity that you have noticed in the water sector. But a point that I've made is that none of this activity is conducted in empty fields. It's conducted with the product of the investment visible for all to see who have eyes to see. It is conducted for groundbreakings where immediately after, they're not ceremonial, there are tractors and heavy equipment and workers on sites and pipes being delivered because there are real projects. I am speaking in the sectoral debate this afternoon, so I'm going to narrow my comments to this particular investment and the suite of accompanying investments that will make this entire area better for those who live here. Firstly, Prime Minister, you'll recall that in our first discussion around water after my assignment, one of the issues you raised was energy consumption and energy reliability. That was laid bare after Hurricane Beryl last year. Now, what the public will see over the coming 6 to 18 months is not just groundbreakings for pipes and commissionings of tanks and installation of new pumps. Yes, they will see all of that. We have 58 events to go, MP Hilton. But they will also see groundbreakings and commissionings and several ceremonies for energy investments to not only build stability in the pricing that we pay, but to build stability in the supply. There's nothing more frustrating than when I get a call from Mrs. Creary up the road because of single-phase power, or from residents of Swain Spring, or Lee's Flat, or any of the accompanying turnoffs. Certainly, it is nothing pleasant when you get the calls from Mosquito Valley MP. And it is very frustrating when someone looks outside and they see rain falling because we're in rainy season. You're not in drought. God has blessed us with wetter conditions this year. And they hear they don't have water because of single phase. It sounds like an excuse, but it is real. Much of Jamaica lives in the hilly interior of the island, and we have to pump from surface water sources up these hills, which requires triple phase power. Much of the network is the old style English pumps that use a lot of electricity. So this sort of investment in a 350 kilowatt grid-tied solar system, investing some 81.5 million Jamaican dollars, creates a sort of resilience for the 26,000 residents who will benefit from the pipeline that is to come. And why I started the energy side is that persons need to understand that the water sector has a number of components that come together for you to have water in your pipe. The first is a good source or positive rainfall that we are able to catch. The second is the ability to extract and process. The third is storage. The fourth is our ability to distribute, whether through gravity feed systems or through electric pumping and good pipes. And then the final step is you having actual pipes in your home to receive the water. And of course, the final step, the Water Commission will never let me leave without it, is you actually paying the bill so that we're able to continue to invest for others. So this is one component that we are here commissioning. We're cutting a ribbon to acknowledge that $81.5 million of revenue from the Water Commission has been reinvested into the communities that all three MPs serve. And I think that is a point that needs to be acknowledged. You'll notice, Prime Minister, that we're starting to keep events now with 2-3 things happening at one time. It's because your office staff is a little frustrated with the number of requests they're getting from our office. But it is because we have to be efficient with use of time. As I mentioned, we're tracking some 58 events between commissionings, groundbreakings, and progress tours, which are incredibly important between the Water Commission, Rural Water Supply Limited, and indeed JSIF. But I want to zone in on the broader community of Red Hills and environs. This is not a singular standalone investment, Patria. Many will recall the droughts of 2022 and 2023, where the eastern side of the island was disproportionately affected. It was amongst the driest Februarys we've ever had. March in 2023 was the driest March. And during that period, Jamaica was, rather, the Kingston and St. Andrew Portmore area was short 15 million gallons a day. Now think of that. Think of how many buildings and high-rises and apartments and townhouses and commercial complexes were built from 2016 to 2022. We were short during that period 15 million gallons a day. Sorry, 12 million gallons a day. Just last week, I convinced the Prime Minister to join me on a tour of our system, our water treatment plant that is being built in Content, St. Catherine. Now, that water treatment plant is being done as a PPP for $92 million US, no debt attached to it, will supply 15 million gallons daily to the people of Spanish Town, Portmore, and southern St. Andrew in terms of that corridor up to West Rural St. Andrew. So you've seen that big, huge blue ductile iron pipe on Marcus Garvey that goes along Spanish Town Road. That's node 1 in the distribution side for water in this area. Node 2, MP Hilton, is the Ferry to Rock Pond line, which will solve problems from Cooper's Hill coming all the way down the hill. Node 3 will be, Prime Minister, we'll ask you to invite us to your constituency and MP Hilton to also invite us. Perhaps we can agree on a location for both, because in the next 3 weeks we'll also be breaking ground on the final fix for the issue that was Washington Boulevard. So we have new lines that are there, and we are completing the last set of the contracting process to allow for the connection at the bridge at Sandy Gully. Now, there are some communities that may feel that, oh, you're investing on the hill, but what about us? Because people assume it's only persons on the hill that have challenges. But whether it is Waterhouse or Olympic Gardens or Marvally, these communities we're also getting to you very shortly, because we'll be connecting that pipeline that was laid and never connected properly. And that will significantly resolve the issues that you see on Washington Boulevard, where there's constant line breakage, because we'll no longer be using the old rotting pipes in that area. And that is going to significantly reduce NRW in the area. Major, major investments. The Works Agency will also be conducting pipe work along the Helsha Main Road, which is the final node for distribution, the major distribution pipes that will carry the water that we'll be producing at the Rio Cobre. So you see, we've created an integrated, well thought out, cohesive solution to fix the issues that you have. In another forum, we'll speak about the storage in the area, because pumping the water up to Rock Pond and dealing with all of the communities at the top of the hill, we'll still have to put in some significant storage, but today is not the day for that particular conversation. But we're looking holistically at the fact that southern St. Andrew, that entire belt stretching to West Kingston and everything in between, the West Rural St. Andrew residents who feed into Northwest, who feed into Western St. Andrew, who people in country, when you go to rural Jamaica, tell you you're only investing in town, but they don't know that there's still challenges also in Kingston and St. Andrew. Those challenges have a projected end date, ladies and gentlemen. On the back of the significant investment of this government, they have an end date. We are targeting water resilience for Kingston, St. Andrew, Portmore, and Spanish Town in St. Catherine for 2027. These projects will culminate in 2027. But you're seeing bits and pieces of them start to ease the pressure. You're seeing the benefit that will be derived from spark roads, which will change old lines also on roads that need to be resurfaced. You're seeing the benefit of storage tanks. You're seeing the benefit of new pumping capacity. You're seeing the benefit of new energy sources. I understand that it has taken far too long as a country to get to this point. But the well-running of the economy, the good management of the NWC over the last 8 years has created the fiscal space for us to fix the issues that we face in the water sector. Not every single one all at once. But ladies and gentlemen who are served and do live within Red Hills and its environs, we ask you one single favor. Well, Delana will ask you to pay the bill, but I ask you one single favor. To spread the news that if I come to your community meeting, if our representatives show up and give you a solution, you have our commitment that we will work through the process faithfully. We're not going to cut the corners and get pulled up in Parliament, but we will stick to it faithfully. And if we give you the commitment to invest, we will make that investment for your water, for your sewage, and for your comfort. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't theatrics. This is real solar panels generating real energy in a stable manner for your pumping needs. These pipes aren't a figment of anyone's imagination. They are real pipes that will distribute millions of gallons of water so that finally the citizens of Red Hills and its environs can say, come to my house without worry. You can entertain without worrying if the truck came on time. We do need 16 more months for this particular pipeline, MPs. But during that period, and MP Hilton made a point, we will meet with your residents that are along the transmission main so that we can do some of the distribution work and reduce NRW in those areas that have the potential of benefiting should they choose to do so. And we look at the rates and how we work with communities that do have particular challenges as well. The last point I'll make, Prime Minister, because I did see you get your police briefing, but for my own safety, because of MP Cuthbert, who is beside you, there is an investment that we are queuing up properly, Prime Minister, in Essex Hall. Essex Hall is the bane of the water supply. There is the bane of MP Cuthbert's existence, and I don't think it would have been safe for me to come down without speaking to it. Prime Minister, we have gone through the PIAB process. We have $780 million of investment queued up for Essex Hall. There was an issue with the procurement, and the recommendation from the PPC was that we go back out to tender. We're not interested in cutting corners and getting into unnecessary issues with all good intention. We're going through the procurement process. Later in the year, Prime Minister, after a particular event, when you have a little more time, we'll invite you to Essex Hall, again, to break ground, to do a progress tour of Ferry to Rock Pond, as well as to commission another pump, which I'm not going to tell you which one yet, because liquor too eager MP. But we're working on it, we're working on it. But
Thank you, Minister Samudo. And now, ladies and gentlemen, there's hardly enough time available to do an introduction. And because we also know that we have kept you waiting, I don't want to do any more talking. So please help me, stand with me, as I make welcome Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have been in ceremony for a little while, so I'm going to be very quick. Allow me to acknowledge all the officials who are here, ministers of government, members of parliament, councillors, executives of the NWC, and all the wonderful people of this community. This project is long in coming. Maybe about 4 years ago, had occasion to interact with several citizens in the community. And their greatest complaint was about water. They did complain bitterly about roads, but their greatest complaint, to the point where I had second thoughts about my own safety, was about water. And for many of the residents, it reached a point of frustration that they could not understand how they could have been given permission to build, and many of them would have built lovely facilities, lovely houses, how they would have created a wonderful community, and they do not have access, a reliable access, to this basic commodity of water. And as I listened to the complaints, I came to the conclusion that the residents had passed the level of being patient with government, which whoever is the government, there was an impatience now. Because in today's world and in their outlook on life, their expectations, when they see other countries having these facilities which they just consider to be basic, why can't we have basic water? I did attempt to go into a thorough explanation, but they were not having it. And to be truthful, you know, that's not their job. Right? Their job, as Minister pointed out, is to pay the water bill and pay their taxes. And government is just to provide the water. What can be so difficult about that? And, you know, let's face it, that's just how it should be. That's the reality. The citizens want government that performs. And that is what has, more than anything else, I mean, there are other issues too, but that is more than anything else that has led to the kind of decline in public support for government. And I'm not talking about political party or partisanship, but just how people feel that their government is effective. The inability of government to provide the basic services that when you compare with other countries, particularly our peer group countries, they seem to be doing it better. They seem to have gotten it right. So I left that meeting with a very good understanding that the only way to restore faith in government is to actually provide the water. Maybe at the provision of the water, I would have a little bit more receptivity to explain why we are in the position that we are in. So allow me to take 5 minutes to explain why it is that the land of wood and water does not necessarily have water accessible to all. Now, to be clear, and just to set the contextual background, Jamaica has a very high level of water access. Minister Samuda, we are somewhere about what, in the 90% in terms of a utility footprint? Right, so in terms of the utility footprint, if you were to take the NWC and the parish council and rural water systems, we would cover about 90% of the population. But then when you drill down to another figure now, which you start to talk about reliability, then we have another problem. And then, of course, recently, another argument has been creeping in about the quality of the water. So far, the data that I have seen does not suggest that we have any compromise in the quality of the water over and above what would be considered normal. Now, having said that we are not far off from our peer groups, and in fact, we are better than most of our peer groups within this region in terms of the access. Our water faces several problems. Regardless of how much water we have, and we do have significant sources of water, no doubt, no question. The problem is where our population centers are versus where our water sources are. There's not usually a coincidence. And therefore that leads to something called distribution. So we have to invest heavily in distribution systems for water, meaning we have to move the water from where the source is to where the people live. It's further compounded, not just by that geography, but by the geography of terrain. Jamaica is very hilly. We have a mountainous spine running through the country. So we have to pump water up hilly courses. this community here, Red Hills, Lees Flat, and all the other Chancery, all these other areas are communities that are up in the hills. So apart from the distribution system, we have to pump. Now, once you get into the distribution system that requires pumping, you get into the mechanical distribution of water. And once you're dealing with a mechanical distribution system, there will be challenges. They will break down. But it means in order to mitigate against these breakdowns, you have to have a regular system of maintenance. And that is where largely, not just in water, but in almost every system in the country, we have a problem. The problem of maintaining the man-made mechanical parts that cause the system to function properly. But maintenance is not simply a mechanical issue. Maintenance is a cultural issue as well. We don't necessarily have a culture of maintenance in Jamaica. Generally, both in terms of the public bureaucracy, but the understanding of the public is that once you lay the pipe, once you lay the road, once you put in the pump, it will last forever. So the expectation is that the pump will work and last forever. And that is absolutely not the case. Everything that is manufactured, constructed, has a design life. And they will fail before the design life if they are not properly maintained. But having used up my 5 minutes to explain that, trying to get into the minds of the public so that they understand the challenges that we have, the dynamics of our water system, is that one, for us to do the actual capital investment, lay the pipe, put in the pump, develop the water source, you have to be able to invest. And in order to maintain it, you have to have the funds for the recurrent expenditure to maintain. And what has happened to Jamaica over the last 4 or 5 decades is that we simply did not have the capital budget or the recurrent budget. Our economy was not providing the resources, the wherewithal for the investments. No doubt, good intentions. I urge every citizen here to take up the annual report of the NWC. That's your duty as a citizen, you know. Go online, we make these things public. And read the intention of the Board of Governors, the commissioners, and the government in terms of policy direction. Let's start from 2002 to now. And you will see that these projects that we are breaking ground for today are not new projects. They were on the books, many of them, for a long time. And they come in the reports, and you see a line item that we're going to do it this year, and this is the amount of money we're going to spend. All right? You read it in year 1, go to year 2. It comes back again. Did it start? Was it procured? Was it because they didn't have the intention? Was it because they didn't care? Was it because they're just lackadaisical? No. They didn't have the money. I make this point because we are in the promising season. We are in the season where you're going to be exposed to good intentions all around. You may even be told that you're going to be given a horse that can fly. And some people will believe. I go to great lengths to make this point. That it doesn't matter what you are promised. You have to look at the track record of delivery, number one. And number two, does the promiser the man with the good intent, does he have the wherewithal to deliver? I use that word, and it might sound like a big word, it's an old-time word, but it is the appropriate word. Do you have the actual ability to bring the resources together and use those resources to meet your intent? And that is what you have to consider as citizens who are soon to become electors. Will the government that you elect have the wherewithal to deliver projects like these? So we have, Minister Samuda points out, that we have 58 such projects like we are doing today, for which we are going to break ground for every single one of them, because we have to make the people of Jamaica see and understand that for the 9 years that you have elected this government, we have demonstrated the wherewithal to be able to deliver not just the projects that we originated, but the projects that were promised by previous administrations. This administration has been delivering them. And, you know, I recently had to contemplate, I was drafting a speech that I want to make, and I'll make it shortly. I won't make it here, but I had to contemplate saying to people, we need to have a positive outlook, and we need to have faith. And, you know, there's a biblical definition of faith that I'm certain that all of you here know, right? Who can tell me that one now? It is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. But if you look at that, you know, biblical definition, it is, I come here and I'm saying we're breaking ground and we're handing over and we're showing you the solar panels that are in place. Have faith. Because the ultimate objective is to say to the other communities that are looking on at what we are doing here, to say, have faith. But in front of you, why I can say that without feeling as if I'm making you a promise that is empty, is that this is what every other community that doesn't have water is hoping for. But in front of you is the evidence of the delivery of what you hope for. So we are going to be doing just that in our ceremonies that we are going to do when we are breaking ground, commissioning, or handing over. Because it is important that the rest of Jamaica who is not benefiting from this can have faith that the government that they have elected and will re-elect will deliver for them. It is important because in today's world, you find that you are confronted as a citizen with information that is absolutely negative, of which there is no evidence to support it. Pure rumor and lies. And how does a government confront that? We confront it by giving people hope of the things they desire and show them the evidence as to how it can be achieved. That is what this administration is doing. We will not join them in the gutter of lies. We will not join them in deceiving the people. We are the first government in the history of Jamaica, uncontestable, I dare anyone to, uncontestable, to have the record of achievements that we have had and will continue to have. We can campaign on achievements. one achievement which has not gotten a lot of attention, and expectedly so, is that poverty in the country has been cut in half from 16.7% in 2021 to 8.2%. Now, when it was the other way, when poverty jumped up to the 16% because of the COVID pandemic, that was in every paper. That was the talk. Even though we had the pandemic, nobody cared about that. Government was blamed for it. Now, poverty is down. And there would be an attempt to say the figures are not real. It's not the government do it. People still are suffer. Now, yes, this data is not saying that we have eliminated poverty in Jamaica. That's not what it is saying. What the data is saying is that there is established a consumption threshold in Jamaica, a minimum level of consumption based upon science. Your caloric intake that you need to survive, so there's a food basket that you need to consume. Minimum utilities that you would need, water, light involved, and social services, health, education, and so forth. That comprises a basket of consumption and a minimum expenditure on that for every Jamaican person. I believe the figure is something like $270,000 a year, somewhere in that region. Don't quote me on it. But that minimum figure, which forms what you call the absolute poverty line, in 2021, when we measured it, 16.7% of the adult population fell below that line. When we measured it in 2023, only 8% fell below that line. So yes, there are still persons who are poor, relatively poor, but we can take pride as a country that we have been able to have the number of persons who would be considered absolutely poor in Jamaica. That's an achievement that every PNP, every PIP, every NOP, and every JLP should be proud of, because that's a national achievement. And if we continue with the fiscal discipline, the proper management of the economy, it is quite possible that we could, in our lifetime, eliminate absolute poverty in Jamaica. Quite possible. It is not rocket science to do it. So if the measurement, for example, has in a factor to deal with access to water, and we, as we are doing now, provide persons with an amnesty who couldn't get water before because of their bill, and we make it easier for them to reconnect, we make it easier for them to get back water. What do you think will happen to poverty when they go into the field and ask questions? That element of the basket will go down. The same thing, if we reduce the GCT on electricity, if we help people to connect using prepaid electricity and more people have access, formal access to electricity, what do you think is going to happen to poverty? If we increase the benefits under the PATH program, and we make sure that the PATH program benefit is not just increased but properly targeted, that people who should be on it get on it, what do you think is going to happen to poverty? Yes. That's how you deal with poverty. So there should be, we shouldn't politicize it. And I unfortunately have to bring it here, but not in a sense to politicize it, but to give people information about it. That this is something that we should all as a country get behind. let us eliminate absolute poverty from our country. Another element of, the whole business of treating with poverty now, not necessarily just absolute poverty, is income. And how do we get people to have income? And the only way to do that is to create employment. And unless you're going to totally abolish the unemployment data, then I don't see how anyone can deny that in 2015, the unemployment rate was somewhere in the region of about 13 to 15%. And the last figure I saw is that the unemployment rate is now about 3.5%. I mean, that's so obviously with that trajectory, poverty generally now, not just the absolute poverty, but poverty generally, there are more adults in households that are having income. And then when you look at how the minimum wage has been increased, the base income is higher. So obviously, poverty generally must decrease. Now, there are some challenges. We continue to have a high cost of living. No doubt. Energy costs, we don't have any control over that really. Inflation, big issue. And recently I saw a prominent businessman being very critical of the Bank of Jamaica. And I just quickly say here that the Bank of Jamaica operates an independent monetary policy. We pass laws to ensure that the Bank of Jamaica is independent. And the Bank of Jamaica's mandate is to control inflation. And there is a reason why the mandate is to control inflation. There are those who will say, abandon the control of inflation so that we can have growth. I wonder if you see that trade-off and look at who is speaking. Who does inflation affect the most? It affects the poor, fixed income, single mother, or father. You know what? Family. Yes, inflation is the bane, the destruction of everybody. So I don't know whose interest he's talking about. The interest we are protecting is the interest of the average Jamaican who will feel the pinch if we don't manage inflation properly. And that is why inflation targeting is the mandate of the bank. And that is why we have managed to keep inflation within that target range of 4 to 6%. Now, there is a certain level of inflation that gives growth, that you need it, and that's the target we have set, 4 to 6%. Now, there is a view in some people's minds that the only way to get growth is you have to deal with the interest rates. It's very important. We don't question that. But the equation of growth has several variables in it. The cost of capital is one, which then works out to a trade-off in our situation because of foreign exchange issues with inflation. But the real way to get growth and control inflation is to increase productivity. And for more than 4 decades, the country has avoided this conversation about productivity. And we have sought to deal with the inflation problem by always having wages increasing. And it is really important to have wages keep a pace and ahead of inflation, but that in itself does not solve the problem. Because every year you're going back to the negotiating, but you're not getting any growth. So you're not really creating new value. And the only way to create new value is by increasing productivity. The issue of productivity, again, is very complex. But I want to make a link as I close. The people in this community who were complaining about their water and getting frustrated with government were effectively saying, you're not giving me any water, how can I be productive? That is the essence of it, you know. How can I be productive if I have to be redirecting my time to get water? And so the investment that we are making here today is about creating the infrastructure that will make our people more productive. So if we bring water to your homes, if we give you proper roads, if we make your electricity more reliable, it is not just good for citizens, it's also good for business. And that is why we have this massive program of investing in infrastructure, particularly infrastructure like water, roads, bridges. Very important. So I hope I've been able to make some connections with you this morning. And I hope that you are a little bit more receptive now that the water is on its way. And that you will have a better understanding of the unique challenges that Jamaica faces. I also hope that you get to see what my intentions are and that you see that my intentions align with your interests and that I don't come bearing any horses that can fly. What I am telling you is the practical realities that we all have to deal with. You know, as I close my presentation, you know, the polls are out. I don't usually deal with them because, you know, I don't usually speak about polls. But there's an interesting poll about trust. And as I reflected, you know, Peter Phillips made his goodbye presentation in Parliament, and, you know, he said, you are the politician who went down to Mandeville and tell the people about bitter medicine. And, you know, it's a funny thing, because having myself and Peter Phillips would have been the two who would have had the greatest experience in dealing with the IMF in that critical time. And when I went up and met with the IMF, I was under no illusion as to what was necessary. Some people came and said they will get an IMF deal in 2 weeks and they will be able to take GCT off electricity. Of course, none of that could happen. He himself came back and said when he met with them, it was sobering. So if you're talking about trust, who is telling you the truth? Who is not sugarcoating and hiding? Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the water when it comes.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your discourse with us, sir. I took a few notes, and if you'd permit me, sir, you talked about income and poverty. You also touched a little bit on the power of the amnesty that is now in its 5th month and is slated to go in straight up to the weekend, which is this Saturday. We're encouraging persons to make the most of that. And then you talked about access to water and the importance that it has on our daily lives, what that investment means for daily lives and the investment in development. And so I'll leave with this quote, which is from the United Nations, and it says, water is critical for sustainable development, including environmental integrity and the alleviation of poverty and hunger, and it is indispensable for human health and well-being. It's not me say it. I'm not at the point yet where they quote me. It's from the United Nations. Ladies and gentlemen, it has indeed been a good one so far, and so we move now to what will be the ceremonial groundbreaking. So we go behind this tent for that, and then we will go across to the solar panels for a little tour as well. I want to thank PM Holness, Minister Samudo, all 3 members of Parliament who are here. And gentlemen, representing your communities and civic society, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation's team. I also didn't quite say hello to the beauty queen amongst us. Good to have you. I'm sure we'll get a chance to say hello. The alternative power source partners who are our contractors for the solar panels, the NWSC's own energy department, which would have spearheaded the installation, represented here by Mr. Hannah Morrison. Of course, we've had no incidents, but one of the things is always to protect and serve. And a part of the national anthem said, "Great Defender," which is really, I think, the role that the JCF aptly plays, and also extending that courtesy and salute to the OPM security detail as well, and to Mr. Paul Fraser from the NWC and his team. Big ups to all of these teams. Please put your hands together. Of course, the NWC team, which again has really demonstrated that we are serving you in so many ways.
We don't need nobody in the background.
But you guys have to go install our jets. That's right. High power.
Watch me in my heels. That is it.
Okay.
You want to join us this side?
You gotta take the shot, Laura.
No, see them. I'm coming up in. Come on, the right side. Coming back up.
Ready? Load up our shovels. Yeah, load up the shovels and then we lift. And then we hold a little bit so that there's actually dirt on the shovel. Alright, everybody have this now. We only do it once. This dirt here now. Staying in kind of dirt. Everybody's ready? And then we turn to the right. Turn! Alright. When this gets you closer. Thank you, everyone.
There's one more as well. Yeah, ribbon cutting. You want to keep on it, the best? I'm not here.
We have a total of 700. Well, I'm not Oh, you're telling me about 100.
So if you say about 1,000, I would say, no man, it's 2,000.
No, it's over 700. Mona had 109 panels on the, which was a part of the pilot. Alright?
So are these the panels that you get from both sides or just one side?
Mr. Morrison can confirm.
Good. What kind of panels? These are the dual sides from both sides?
No, not from both sides.
Shouldn't you be in the front? Shouldn't you go in the front?
Oh,
you go over that.
Slowly. Look here slowly. Come here, sir.
This is the first one.
Come here, sir. Get more panels. Alright, hold on. I'm going to take this one. No move.
So this is the first?
No, but yes, first. You never did that.
Bring the one set.
Hold on, somebody took off mic? Richard? Mike. Where's the mic? Oh, you took off mic? Where's my mic? It says off. My mic.
So before I cut, I need a helmet.
Yes.
But not dropping it.
Wait, I'm gonna have so much sleep.
Minus earn it, bro. You hear my dad? In the beach, going down.
So before I cut the ribbon on the Forest Hills pumping station solar plant, solar park, let me say that the NWC is the largest customer for the JPS. Yes, it costs quite a bit to get water to your homes because of the heavy use of electricity. But the equipment itself requires special configuration from the JPS. They are usually double phase and triple phase configurations. So they do draw quite a bit of electricity to operate. Now, the NWC is trying to achieve internal efficiencies in its operations. That is actually a way to moderate costs to you. So investments like these, investments in solar power, will help to reduce the NWC's operating costs and moderate costs passed on to you. But I'm using this as well to point out that hydroelectricity is also a possibility for Jamaica, though it is not in a state and stage where it could be considered commercially substantial. But as we move towards having 50% of our electricity generated from renewables, we must also consider hydroelectricity. So we are making massive investments in solar, we are making investments in wind, we need to now start to consider investments in hydro, in geothermal, we need to explore all the renewables. They may not, at the moment, appear viable, but we need to start to investigate them. 20, 30 years ago, putting up these solar panels weren't considered viable. But what has happened since? The technology has changed. So these solar panels are now quite efficient and affordable. So Jamaica is putting itself in a position, Tony, to be able to take advantage of the advance in technology in all areas of renewable. And I'm happy to say that the NWC is leading the way in that regard. And I am now going to officially cut the ribbon. All right. Good stuff. All right.